You connect drivers with excess capacity with companies that need things to be shipped. So drivers get paid more money and shippers pay less. How exactly does it work?
Yeah, so basically we are building, it's an electronic platform that connects shippers that own the freights with the owner-operator, that driver that owns his or her own truck. So we basically enable the freedom to the driver to choose where they want to go and which load they want to pick up on the one hand, and on the other side, we enable the shipper to work with a very fragmented trucking force, which is the owner-operator. So in a way, we are disintermediating the markets, and we are also enabling the markets to utilize the excess capacity that exists. So at the end of the month, the truckers operating the platform make more money, and the shippers are, on the one hand, they are decreasing the trucking costs, and on the other, we are increasing the level of service because they have, instant visibility on where the trucks are, and they have real-time KPIs on their operations.
So you're focused on Brazil now. What are your plans to expand?
So we classify as a Latin American company. Today, we've been operating for just over 2 years, and today we are one of the largest trucking companies in the Latin American market. The main operation happens in Brazil because it's the third or fourth largest trucking market in the world, but we are already moving loads to Argentina, Paraguay, and other countries. And we expect to expand across the Latin American region fairly soon.
Now, like Uber itself, you could also run into government regulations, and I understand the government there has now instituted a minimum freight rate in response to a trucking strike. How do you plan to navigate some of these regulatory issues?
Yeah, so the difference with Uber, and we've been compared, or we've been told we are the Uber for trucks. I always say we are more like the Amazon for trucks. Because the difference is that we are not building a new industry. The industry already existed. It's a very antiquated offline industry that existed for a long time, and we are bringing technologies that already existed and bringing those technologies into this industry to make it more efficient. So the regulations apply to the whole industry. And today, 70 to 80% of the Brazilian economy is moved by the trucking industry. So it's kind of like we adapt to the regulations, and we are always working in line with the government to achieve the main objective of CargoX, which is to improve the life of the truck driver. Not the trucking companies, but the truck driver. So whichever the regulation the government needs to implement, and call it the Brazilian government or any local government, we will adapt and work with the government together. And the good thing about this, there was a trucking strike, and the government implemented some regulations. But the purpose of the regulation was to improve the quality of life of the trucker, which is, our objective.
So you say you have 7,000 drivers registered. You do have a competitor, TruckPad, that says it has 550,000 drivers registered. Their office is only 10 minutes away from yours. What do you have on them?
Well, we prefer to talk about, CargoX. 7,000 drivers, we are talking about active drivers moving freight across the country. We are utilizing their excess capacity, and what I can say is that, with 7,000 drivers today, by amount of drivers and revenue, we are one of the largest trucking businesses in the Latin American region, so we are going beyond Brazil. But talking about competition, I believe that any company that has as a main target to improve the quality of life of the owner-operator, which, by the way, moves the Brazilian economy and most of the domestic economies across the world, they should be our best friends if the real target is to improve the quality of life of the trucker. And what we are seeing in the world, like you can pick Alibaba, for example. There are massive companies that are building technology platforms to improve the lives of the SMBs or the population, to disintermediate the economies so that a person doesn't have to work for a corporate in order to make a living.